This podcast contains an English accent that most of our Irish listeners will find offensive. Also, there may be some colourful language that you're going to find less offensive. Now, over to Ryan and Leon. Enjoy the podcast.
It's Kane. It's Kane and Paul Bear. We saw Kane last night literally rip a steel door right off its hinges. We're supposed to have a tag team matchup here with the Truth Commission, and now we have a monster. The younger brother of The Undertaker, King, or so Paul Bear tells us. Well, you know, nobody wants... Oh, God! Jeez. Hellfire and brimstone. Nobody wanted to believe...
Leon, I just got to take a moment there. I was taken back to being a 10-year-old and just being scared that Kane is going to turn up when I'm sleeping, when I'm at school... Don't think anything has scared me as much as Kane did.
Do you remember where you were the day that Kane took his mask off?
No, I don't, you know. I think that would have been like a few years after. Because I think that was maybe when I was coming away from being a fan of wrestling. So that was about 2001, 2 maybe, when he took his mask off.
Fucking scary.
It was on
stuff.
Sky, mate, do you know what I mean? Humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings.
I mean...
I'll tell you one thing about a Halloween episode. It's going to be an absolute slobber knocker.
As soon as I knew we were going to do a Halloween episode, I had to share that because it is the most frightened I've ever been, and even as an adult. Yeah. You know what? Actually, the scariest experiences of my human existence so far. That, and then do you remember when like LimeWire was around and you used to download videos, and there was this one fucking video. Which it was a scare. It was like a scare video.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
It's the one that starts in the country road.
The car. And
the car winds around, and you get closer and closer, and then straight into your head. I can't even think. It's like a zombie, Japanese zombie fucking thing, jumped straight into your head. Yeah,
she kind of looks like the sausages you have in the back of your fridge that you've forgotten about.
Oh, I think my brain has cut out the actual image of what she looks like. Is that what she looks like? Well, it's a woman, no? It's a girl zombie.
A bit decayed, kind of, you know.
Decayed zombie.
You don't. It's because you don't expect it. It's like a happy little quaint country village. Do you know what I mean? You're frolicking through the meadows, and the little car in the distance. All of a sudden, you're in for a fucking night of terror.
I have to be honest with you. I wanted to find a bit more about it. And then I bottled the Google search because I was so scared. I was so scared of seeing it again. All the links were taking me to like a clip of the video. I was like, this isn't worth it.
Can't put yourself through it again. Even as a grown man.
I'm not going to do it.
No, you shouldn't. No one needs to relive that trauma.
What about the scariest things that you remember seeing? The most scared you've ever been?
The most scared I've ever... I used to be terrified of the dark. Terrified. And I remember watching Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh yeah,
the
Nickelodeon TV show, yeah.
That should never have been on for kids.
Very scary, wasn't it?
Never been on for kids.
Goosebumps was scary as well.
That was
a bit more adult scary, wasn't it? Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark is like when it's the music. It's the music, and then it's like the playground that's abandoned, and it's night time and all of that, and then there's fucking ventriloquist dolls coming out, possessed by the devil, Lucifer, and you know, coming out and just attacking children, and it was just... I was terrified of the dark until I was about fucking 11. I'd say about 11, like.
Yeah.
I grew past it where it wasn't cute anymore. My mum was like, "Here, you need to get a hold of yourself. You need to get a grip and become like, you know, like
sort yourself out, yeah.
Sort yourself out. Like, you're getting too old now. You're nearly going into secondary school and you're afraid of the dark. Cop on."
Yeah.
So I had a word with myself.
That's the kick you need.
Got over it. Eventually. Went off cold turkey.
Yeah, fair.
Being afraid of the dark.
I haven't really indulged much in the most recent horror offerings, to be honest. I think there's a part of, I don't know if you agree with this, but death becomes something that isn't funny. And I stopped looking at, like, I used to love watching horror films.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I can't think of any moment in my life where death became something that wasn't any crack. I just stopped being interested in being scared.
Do you know what I watched last night, actually? The Black Phone. Ethan Hawke.
God,
Our old pal Ethan Hawke.
He sponsored this show, that guy now.
But it's actually very good. It's set in the 70s, so like it's got that 70s feel
New
to
movie.
it. I think about 2022. So, but like it's different. It does have some jump scares, but it doesn't rely on jump scares. You're kind of a bit like, what the fuck is what's going on? It plays with the unreal and the real kind of, and you're kind of confused of what's going on.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, you know, there's going to be a jump scare. Like, you know, like Paranormal Activity, where it's just jump scare after jump scare.
The Grudge or The Ring. Or...
Yeah. But the thing is, like, the best horror movies. So, remember hearing about this when I did, just letting you know, I did a film degree of English and film, and I'm using my film degree now for the first time in fucking 2 years since I've had it. But the difference between a good horror movie is using the trope of terror. And what terror is the anticipation of the horror. It's not the horror itself, and the horror will be the monster. It's when you are anticipating what the horror could be. So say, for instance, one of the best examples is Bird Box. Do you ever watch Bird Box?
Yeah.
You never see the horror. You never see the monster. You know, it's supposed to be like the worst of what anyone visualizes cause them to go mad. You never see it, so you're always expecting that the terror is always there. Or say, for instance,
Babadook's a bit like that as well.
Yeah, like
you do see the Babadook like once or twice, but it's the build up of this fucking thing is going to turn up and wreck the gaff.
The Conjuring. Have you seen The Conjuring?
Yeah.
You know the scariest part of that whole film is when the girls are playing the thing where they put the blindfold on. I'm actually getting goosebumps now.
Yeah.
And they're doing the clap game. They clap and they've got a blindfold on. And all of a sudden you see the hands come out of the wardrobe.
Yeah.
And it's not their hands. And it claps. And it goes back in. And then the witch is on the wardrobe. Now you get a bit of a jump when you see the witch. Spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen The Conjuring, but it's old enough that you should fucking have seen it by now. But like when it's the hands of seeing like something is happening, and like you're anticipating what could the witch or what could the paranormal entity look like.
Yeah, that's
the scariest part, and that's terror, as opposed to the horror would be the witch herself.
Well, today we're just going to share really spooky shit. Really, yeah. I think that's the best way to go. I think we tried to have a mix of throwback gothic literature, because that is the go-to, like all those people that used to write horrible poems back in the day. We're going to share a few of those actually, from like Robert Browning, and actually we're going to have a little treat now. We're all going to put our feet up and listen to one of the most iconic performances of poetry in popular culture. I'm going to put my hat on that and say that.
I'd say so.
It's the first ever poem I remember being on telly.
Yeah,
100%.
On a like global scale,
yeah,
like mainstream television.
And I actually watched this episode of The Simpsons yesterday, the full one.
Did you?
Dodgy Box, you know what I mean? Happy days to
Don't be outing yourself.
Well, it's too late. Knock my door. Come and get it.
Come at me. I'm in an apartment. You can't buy me.
Exactly. Yeah. And just the level of creativity, like turning that poem, like you wouldn't have that now.
No.
Like even, well, maybe like Family Guy would like create songs for their shows. That's really amazing. Like I love that. But this was 91, I think. 91 or 92, this episode of The Simpsons.
Bringing in the big guns as well. You're using two people that we've actually covered already.
Yeah.
But combine them together to make a super poem.
Yeah, so this, ladies and gentlemen, a real treat, is a clipping of the Treehouse of Horror episode from season 2 of The Simpsons of The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, read out by James Earl Jones.
What more could you want?
Like, what else do you want for 5 minutes of your life?
That's the best you could possibly... that is the best we can do.
Can't do any more for you.
You've got fucking Kane theme music. and The Raven by James Earl Jones.
So, sit back and enjoy this.
Once upon a midnight dreary,
while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door.
"'Tis some visitor,"
I muttered,
"tapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more."
Are we scared yet? Bard, he's establishing mood.
Ah, distinctly I remember. It was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow.
Huh?
Sorrow for the lost Lenore.
Oh, Lenore.
For the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating,
"'Tis a visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more."
Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer.
"Sir,"
said I,
"or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door that I scarce was sure I heard you."
Here I opened wide the door.
This better be good.
Darkness there, and nothing more.
Huh?
You know what would have been scarier than nothing? What? Anything!
Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, something louder than before.
"Surely,"
said I,
"surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore."
Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more.
"Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou,"
I said,
"art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the nice Plutonian shore."
Quoth the raven,
Eat my shorts. Bart, stop it. He says nevermore, and that's all he'll ever say. Okay.
Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed by some unseen censer,
Stupid censor.
swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor.
"Wretch,
I cried,
thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore."
quoth the raven.
Nevermore.
"No! Be that word outside of parting! Murder fiend!
I shrieked up, starting,
Get thee back into the tempest and the nice Plutonian shore! No, leave no black plume as a token of the lie. Thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door.
quoth the raven.
Nevermore.
Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door.
quoth the raven.
Nevermore.
Why, you little...
Oh,
Come back here, you little raven! Oh, he missed! Ow!
nevermore.
And the raven, ever flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.
That was The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, read by the great James Earl Jones.
So a special way to start the Halloween episode.
Definitely, with the Treehouse, our very own Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah. I watched the full episode of that yesterday, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Really good. So you'll remember this, but there's a story of it in it where aliens come down and try to, well, the Simpsons think they're getting eaten, but actually the aliens are being quite sad to them and just cooking them for them and stuff. And they bring them home and go like, we tried to raise your human experience to levels that you've never known before, but you were very ungrateful, so we have to return you to your suburb. Goodbye. Very good now.
And he's like, I slaved for days. Kane, was it Kane and Kodos?
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Great episode.
It's just he's just got such a brilliant voice for reading.
I know.
That,
Rest in peace, James. Big fans, aren't we? Big fans of James Earl Jones.
Big fans. So we have an interesting poem to follow with that.
We do, actually. This is a poem from probably one of the earliest piece of work we're going to ever show, read in the show, from a writer called Robert Browning, who was the husband of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, who you'd know from a poem that she wrote. We'll share that one day. It's called How I Love Thee, and he goes, How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. You've heard that line before.
I believe I have.
Yeah. So he was her muse, maybe, as she was his muse, maybe, for this poem.
Possibly.
Which is a horrifying tale of someone who isn't sure how to handle his love and emotions towards his partner.
I'm going to read it.
I'm
going to read it. This is called Porphyria's Lover by Robert Browning. The rain set early into night. The sullen wind was soon awake. It tore the elm tops down for spite, and did its worst to vex the lake. I listened with heart fit to break, when glided in Porphyria straight. She shut the cold out and the storm, and kneeled and made the cheerless grate blaze up, and all the cottage warm. Which done, she rose, and from her form withdrew the dripping cloak and shawl, and laid her soiled gloves by, untied her hat, and let the damp hair fall. And last, she sat down by my side, and called me, when no voice replied. She put my arm about her waist, and made her smooth white shoulder bare, and all her yellow hair displaced, and, stooping, made my cheek lie there, and spread over all her yellow hair, murmuring how she loved me, she, too weak for all her heart's endeavour, to set its struggling passion free from pride and vainer ties dissever, and give herself to me forever. But passion sometimes would prevail, nor could tonight's gay feast restrain a southern thought of one so pale, for love of her and all in vain. So she was come through wind and rain. Be sure I looked up at her eyes, happy and proud, at last I knew. Porphyria worshipped me, surprise made my heart swell, and still it grew. While I debated what to do, that moment she was mine, fair, perfectly pure and good. I found a thing to do, and all her hair in one long yellow string I wound, 3 times her little throat around, and strangled her. No pain felt she, I am quite sure she felt no pain, as a shut bud that holds a bee. I warily opened her lids again, laughed the blue eyes without a stain, and I untied next the tress about her neck, her cheek once more blushed bright beneath my burning kiss. I propped her head up as before, only this time my shoulder bore her head, which droops upon it still, the smiling rosy little head, so glad it has its utmost will. All it scorned at once is fled, and I, its love, am gained instead. Porphyria's love she guessed not how, her darling one wish would be heard, and thus we sit together now. And all night long we have not stirred, and yet God has not said a word.
That was Porphyria's Lover by Robert Browning. That was fucking horrible. That was horrible. That was so horrible.
Good luck going to sleep tonight, Mr. Duggins.
Forget that. That was haunting and trigger. It was just fucking nasty.
What an arsehole. She lights a fucking
Scumbag.
fire for him, and he strangles her with her own gorgeous hair.
Oh my god.
Little fun fact about that poem. We were googling the name Porphyria. Porphyria is actually a genetic condition passed down by parents that has multiple rare disorders attached to it, and is also better known as vampire disease.
How more Halloweeny could you get on today's show, ladies and gentlemen?
We're on the fucking money today.
God, I'm a bit shook after you read that.
Really?
I'm really shook. Really
Yeah.
shook. Men are fucking cunts.
Men are bastards.
I'm sorry to say the C word, but that I can only apologise. But luckily, the show doesn't get any lighter.
Yeah. No.
Why would it? It's a Halloween special.
Tell you, people will be fucking smoking cigarettes after this episode.
I need a breather.
Taking Valium to go to sleep. They won't be able to.
I was going to introduce a bit of like a light-heartedness here, but I think we're just going to go straight into more fucking darkness. So, fuck it.
Keep going.
Forget it.
Keep
Listen,
it rolling, baby.
This is a poem that was recommended to us by Suzanne Meehan.
Our poem correspondent.
Who's we're so grateful whenever she messages us, and she sent us this in as a recommendation, and it's just fire, but again awful. Well, maybe it's a bit lighter than the last poem. Actually, this isn't as harrowing as that one.
No, it's more supernatural.
Yeah, it's a bit wild actually. This is a poem by a writer called Ian Serelier, called The Visitor. A crumbling churchyard, the sea and the moon, the waves had gouged out grave and bone. A man was walking, late and alone. He saw a skeleton on the ground. A ring on a bony finger he found. He ran home to his wife and gave her the ring. "Oh, where'd you get it?" He said, "Not a thing." "It's the loveliest ring in the world," she said. As it glowed on her finger, they slipped off to bed. At midnight, they woke. In the dark outside, "Give me my ring," a chill voice cried. "What was that, William? What did it say?" "Don't worry, my dear. It'll soon go away." "I'm coming." A skeleton opened the door. "Give me my ring." It was crossing the floor. "What was that, William? What did it say?" "Don't worry, my dear. It'll soon go away." "I'm reaching you now. I'm climbing the bed." The wife pulled the sheet right over her head. It was torn from her grasp and tossed in the air. "I'll drag you out of bed by the hair." "What was that, William? What did it say?" "Throw the ring through the window. Throw it away." She threw it. The skeleton leapt from the sill, scooped up the ring, and clattered downhill. Fainter and fainter. Then all was still.
That was The Visitor by Ian Serelier.
I enjoyed that a lot more than the one that you shared.
Spooky.
Very spooky. What do you think about the dramatic performance?
I actually really liked how it was on a radio play. I felt like I was listening to
Listen,
Orson.
I had to do something.
It was like Orson Welles and War of the Words.
War
of the Words. War of the Words.
This is what we are.
This is War of the Words.
War of the Words.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed that a lot more than that, the fucking other one.
You look like you really enjoyed doing it.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Maybe I found my calling.
You did, yeah. You could be in a radio play as a thing, good to know.
If anyone's listening,
Spooky
I'm
ghost.
available for it.
You could be skeleton number 2.
The supernatural.
It's very good, isn't it? Though, don't be fucking with the dead. No. They will come after you.
We've got a poem from Suzanne herself,
our political poem correspondent.
Yeah, and finally she's she's been flirting with the idea of sending us a poem for a while.
Yeah.
But it sounds like she's finally jumped through and came through.
She's finally outed herself as a poet, because I've been wanting to read this poem on this podcast since we started this podcast. And she was like, no. And then I thought, actually, hang on, it's perfect for Halloween. So she sent me this like last year, and so it's basically a year I've been waiting to read this poem out.
Okay.
And so like this is a poem called "The Gurrier's Right." Gurrier's Right, R-I-T-E.
And you were telling me earlier that a gurrier for our non-Irish listeners would have been just a messer, a scoundrel,
a young lad who's a bit of a chancer,
a young fella,
yeah, little young fella. And obviously, like a tradition in Ireland would be to collect wood for the bonfire. That'd be like a Halloween thing, and then Halloween would you'd always get that smell of burning wood, and the sound of fireworks. That's how we'd always randomly going off. You'd that's what reminds me of Halloween. But obviously it's a big thing from like a very young age. Like your first responsibility is collecting wood for the bonfire. So this is a poem by Suzanne Meehan called "The Gurrier's Right." We gathered at the crack of dawn in packs, the beginning of a ritual that would occupy our every waking moment. Empty stomachs and scruffy clothes, gurriers ready to run through factories and back lanes of the neighbourhood, collecting scraps of furniture and broken wood, shopping trolleys sequestered for the cause, hoarding pallets and tyres in abandoned buildings, stashed in a recluse's garden like an Aladdin's cave of riches, an offering worthy of the annual pyre. Riots would break out as a raid from the neighbouring road was intercepted. The mill up and clash of fists from the gang leaders, scrapping for the title of the best, the biggest, friendships and feuds forged in the battle of the bonfire. It could be legendary, an honour bragged about for the year, spoken of with reverence by the past tribes and the enemy. An armistice was offered on information that the corpo were close, coming to reap our rewards, weeks of hard work, blood, sweat and toil, upended as our loot was destroyed, taken on the back of half-back van. Protests and cries died on deaf ears. We watched in vain, knowing we would begin again. Pity in the eyes of our enemy who felt our pain. Double down we scoured the streets. Beds, sofas, wardrobes donated, stolen and claimed. When the sun set we began the construction. The elders emerged to carry on the tradition of destruction, assembling the perfect gravity-defying structure. Towering high, petrol poured, a flame lit. Untamed cacophony of hollering filled the air. The beacon would blaze on the middle of a pitch, a tribute to the gods of chaos we danced, bewitched with masks of soot and sticky hands, worn out but warmed with satisfaction as majestic flames licked the black sky. We weary souls wandered home as the embers glowed, leaving the last hours of All Hallows to a Rouge's gallery of misfits and vagabonds. The ceremonial rite of passage comes to an end. All that is left is a scorched scar on a grassy patch that will soon mend.
That was the poem "The Gurrier's Right" by Suzanne Meehan.
Worth the wait, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. But what's funny, actually, I was just, as you were reading that, I was laughing when I first moved to Ireland. My mum and dad said to me, "What are you doing for Guy Fawkes night?" And you know what? The first couple of years, I was like, you know what, Mum, I don't really know what they're celebrating. Actually, I'm not sure what they do.
Do you ever watch V for Vendetta?
They'll put Guy Fawkes on it. No, Mum, they're not really that interested.
No, I wonder why. Managing to blow up Parliament, the Catholic. I wonder why.
It's funny, man. I didn't know anything about that sort of thing. Like when I moved there, I was like, what? It's the 5th of November. Gunpowder treason and plot. What?
Yeah, would I know you have bonfire night over in England, but would you build bonfires for Halloween?
Would it be the 5th of November where we build bonfires? We would build whopper bonfires. But no, it'd be for the 5th of November.
Alright, so there's no bonfires on the green outside the house. Halloween, you just trick or treating and that's it.
No.
How would it be? Now, what I've noticed over the last couple of years, obviously they're clamping down now because they don't want a big, massive fucking. It depends on what area you're in.
Well, that's
the more
thing.
working class, the better the bonfire. You'll have bonfires like fucking skyscrapers in Darndale and like Coolock and stuff. I remember cycling through. Right, my gym is in Santry.
Yeah,
and it was a couple of years ago, and I wasn't driving at the time. I was cycling, and I had to cycle from Santry to Baldoyle, and you go through Coolock and Darndale to get there. Right?
Glitz and the glamour.
And then you go a little sprinkle of Donamead as well. And going through Coolock, going down the Oscar Train Road and then past Northside, it was like going through Baghdad. There was just like, because it was a real like hazy night. It was real foggy, and there was just fires every green I went past, and then it's just fucking fireworks like black cats and stuff like that, and people shooting bangers all over the place. And I was like, this is wild. I feel like I need a flak jacket going through here on my little bicycle. I actually turned my bike lights off so that people wouldn't see it, because sometimes they'd fire like fireworks at you.
Oh crikey!
Yeah, lovely place.
Miss fireworks now, I have to say. Can you still get them?
You can always get fireworks.
Down the corner shop in Wolverhampton, you used to be able to buy them. Like the guy would have like at the front of the counter. It would be like a bit like buying cigarettes now.
Yeah.
Was buying fireworks in the late 90s,
under the
2000s.
counter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like under the counter, like, what do you want a sparkler? Do you want a fucking rocket?
Do you want a Roman candle?
Do you want that spinning wheel?
Yeah.
Whatever that was called. What was that called?
Spinning wheel, I don't fucking know.
Spinning wheel thing on fucking... Yeah, I don't think...
Maybe our listeners could let us know.
They're not in shops anymore. Anyway.
No, they're not in shops, but there's always
there's a lad,
there's
a fella.
There's a neighbour who...
the guy that sells you the dodgy box.
I think what you can do is you can go over to up the north in Ireland. You can go up the north and you can get them. They're easier to get up the north than it is. So you'd always have someone you'd know that would go up the north, get a few fireworks, and then come back down and start selling them off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember in secondary school, so, you know, like it was about 15, and my school wasn't the best school, right? And they used to let fireworks off in the corridors. And I'm not talking like black cats, I'm talking like full on colourful. I remember walking down like the corridor, and like a corridor just lighting up green.
Jesus.
And then someone, you know, the screamers, the one you light and it,
yeah.
Right? Someone like lit it in the hall, thought they'd be gas. And it was going around, like it was bouncing off lockers and stuff like that. And my vice principal walked out like the fucking Terminator and put it out with his foot. Just stood on it and it exploded. And he just looked at the lads and went, get back to class. Didn't even flinch. Get back to class. And the lads were like, okay, sir.
Okay.
And just went back.
That was his respect solidified.
That was the ultimate flex.
Yeah, massive flex.
They were like, he is the fucking Terminator.
Yeah, just listen to him.
I listened there, and he never raised his voice. Never once.
Powerful.
Never needed to. Because he's got fucking firework-proof shoes on.
Yeah. You were saying earlier about being scared of the dark, right? A thing like this poem I'll share with you now is it will paint the picture of why someone might be scared of not just the dark, but the where your brain takes you when you remember something scary. And yeah, do you ever do this? We'll read the poem, but like, do you ever be in bed and you'll purposely try to scan back on something that scares you, and then your brain will take you on a flip chart journey of all the things that have ever scared you, and then you just go, why would you do this to me? But literally, fucking hell,
do you know, for years, right? And like, not even, I wouldn't be like, whenever I had nightmares as like a teenager, even though I'd watch the movies and I wouldn't be like going to bed going, ooh. Yeah. But you'd have a nightmare, and it was always a zombie apocalypse.
Oh yeah.
I'd always get, and then I used to have a recurring nightmare as a child. I think that's probably why I was afraid of the dark. And what it was, I don't know if I told you before, was I used to have a dream. So me and my ma shared a room for like the first couple of years, and I was in one single bed on one side of the room, my ma was on the other. And I used to have a dream where I'd wake up, and she wasn't there, and it was nighttime. And I'd get out of bed and I'd walk out looking for her. And my nanny was in one room, and I'd say, is anybody there? No answer. So I'm like, oh, they must be still up. So I'll go downstairs. And I'd walk downstairs and there'd be no lights on. And then I'd turn around, I'd go down the stairs and take the left and turn around to go back into the kitchen. And I'd always get this feeling of dread that something was going to happen. And there would be, I'd always get grabbed by this man with big wiry bushy hair, and he never had any eyes. He'd like black dark holes in his, like, instead of eyes. And as soon as he grabbed me and I looked into his face, I woke up. And that happened for years.
Fuck me.
But I never knew what it was about. Like, nothing ever happened, you know. Like, I don't know what triggered it. But for years, I used to have that one. And then I just turned into fucking zombies once I got rid of the dark. It's like, oh, you're not very dark. But you have zombies.
Jesus Christ,
there you go.
That is scary stuff.
Mad stuff, isn't it?
Your brain can play a lot of tricks on you. I'll share this one with you, right? This is a poem by a writer called Mary Carr. And it's a poem called Field of Skulls. Stare hard enough at the fabric of night, and if you're predisposed to dark, let's say the window you've picked is a black postage stamp you spend hours at, sleepless, drinking gin, after the I Love Lucy reruns have gone off. Stare, like your eyes have force, and behind any night's taut scrim will come the forms you expect pressing from the other side. For you, a field of skulls, angled jaws and eye sockets, a zillion scooped out crania. They're plain once you think to look. You know such fields exist, for criminals roam your every block, and even history lists monsters like Adolf and Uncle Joe who stalk the Earth's orb, plus minor baby eaters unidentified, probably in your very midst. Perhaps that disgruntled mail clerk from your job has already scratched your name on a bullet. That's him rustling in the azaleas. You caress the thought, for it proves there's no better spot for you than here, your square yard of chintz sofa, hearing the bad news pipe steady from your head. The night is black. You stare and furious stare, confident there are no gods out there. In this way, you're blind to your own eyes' intricate machine, and to the light it sees by, to the look of birth, and all your remembered loves. If the skulls are there, let's say they do press towards you, against night's grim. Could they not stare with slack-jawed envy at the fine flesh that covers your scalp, the numbered hairs, at the force your hands hold?
That was Field of Skulls by Mary Carr.
Even mentioned the socket thing.
Yeah.
The eye sockets.
Things that have no eye sockets just freak me out.
Fucking hell. But like I said, it's like the brain will do that to you. It'll take you on some mad journey where you're going from like the thing that scared you, like Kane did when you were a kid, to like who you're nervous of round the corner, and if your neighbour's next door with a fucking knife, and like it's just the terror of all the things that could happen to you. Could be triggered by just staring at a fucking black window. Yeah. Your brain, man. Mental fucking thing.
It is mad. And as I said, terror is worse than horror, because I think your imagination's always worse than what someone could present to you as horrible.
That is, yeah, I think that's fair to say.
You know, your imagination will take it and then run with it. But it's like once you visualize what the actual thing is, or you have a picture of it, you're like, oh, like I'm alright though.
Do you, when you watch like a horror film or something scary, does it carry with you to the next day? Like when I watched Halloween, I went on a bit of a binge last year during the Halloween season, where I watched like for the first time Halloween and Rosemary's Baby and some other kind of creepy fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre I saw for the first time last year. And with Halloween, definitely, I remember the day after getting on the bike to cycle up the canal, which I usually do when I have to go to the office. And as I was cycling, I was like looking at every street corner and every suburb, every road, thinking of him.
Yeah.
standing at that fucking road. I couldn't get out of my head.
You know the mask he wears is actually a William Shatner mask.
What do you mean a William Shatner mask?
So there's a great The Movies That Made Us. It's on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
But they talk about, so they basically for the Mike Myers head, the mask that he wears, they were like, okay, we need something kind of spooky. What are we going to do? So the costume department had a William Shatner like lookalike mask, and they took the eyebrows off, and they kind of made it look a bit weird looking, like kind of pale.
Yeah.
And it's actually originally a William Shatner mask.
What? I had no idea. What?
Captain Kirk.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah. That's Mike Myers is Captain Kirk.
It is a bit of a weird mask if you think about it. Like, it's not particularly that scary. It's just a face with no features. Like, it's just.
But that's what your mind fills in the blanks. You know, it's just a dead face. Like, there's no reaction from Mike Myers. That's what makes him so scary.
Yeah.
He just keeps
going.
It's like, do you ever watch the film It Follows?
No.
Brilliant film. So it's like a horror film where it's like the premise is a bit mad. So a curse can be passed through sex. It's like an STD. It's if you have sex with, say you're cursed and you have sex with someone, then they have the curse, and you're grand. The monster doesn't follow you until that person's killed. Then it starts to follow you again.
Oh.
But it's basically this horror. This like it takes the entity takes the form of like a person, and it slowly just walks behind you, and eventually it'll just grab. It never moves fast. So no matter how far you go, it'll always follow you, and eventually it'll just slowly come to you, and it'll come through like the door, it'll come through the window, it'll come through whatever,
but it'll be fucking
always following you. So like the film is like, if you start having sex with a load of people, then like it'll be passed down by chain, but eventually
you'll get it.
That those will be killed and picked off, and eventually it'll follow you again. It's like, it's a mad but it's like slow horror. Like, you're like,
but that,
always...
you know what, that story, right? I know it's a bit of a wild jump here, but I read Frankenstein.
Oh yeah,
recently.
Love it.
And it's that same premise of like in the third act where Frankenstein has disappeared.
Yeah.
And because the doctor has promised to create his partner.
Yeah, I love her.
And and he hasn't decided on whether he does. And he's nervous because every day he wakes up, he thinks the monster's going to turn up, and eventually he does turn up in the final line. Listen, I don't know why I'm holding The Secrets of Frankenstein. It's one of the most well-known fucking stories ever. But I think people don't know what the story is from the book, though.
You feel bad for the lover.
And eventually he does turn up.
The lover. I keep saying the lover. The monster. The monster just wants a companion. You just want someone that is like him.
Feels wronged and like completely obsessed with the bad choices that were made to bring him to creation. Like,
but even like Dr. Frankenstein is like the reason why he gets rid of the female companion is because he's like, oh, what happens if they procreate? But like, he's the one building.
You did it. You fucking did the thing. You created the thing.
Who knew? How could they? You don't even know if they can procreate, and then you've just condemned this depressed creature who just wants a bit of companionship and another someone to kind of go with him. And like, if they just leave him be, he even said, he goes, I'll fucking go off into the jungle, I'll leave you alone. And then Dr. Frankenstein has to just be Dr. Frankenstein and fuck everything up.
And look what happened.
Kills the two of them.
Spoiler,
sorry, I know, but like,
they both died.
You've had 200 years to fucking read the book, like, come on now.
But like you said, it's that terror of the thing that you can't see, but it's constantly at you, behind you. That's what makes a good piece of horror art, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Fucking hell. Have you written something?
I have.
Have you written? Have you got? You were saying a bit earlier that you had a ghost story.
So I have a ghost story.
To share.
Remember, I mentioned I did a degree of some sorts. I did an English and a film degree, but part of the English degree was I did a horror module, and it wasn't like horror. Well, I did a horror module with film, but I also did a horror module with literature. And one of the assignments was you had to write like a ghost story. So this is actually from my horror module that I wrote. So I want to read a ghost story out to you, if that's all right.
Ooh, it's so alright with me.
All right. So this is The Deathless Nocturnal.
Okay, by Leon Dunn.
She comes only at night, while the rest of the world sleeps to keep me company. For we are one and the same, eternal dwellers of the nocturnal. A typical morning is to rise as the sun sets and to arrive at the hotel with music in full swing. Bodies swoon and dance while drinks are poured, yet they pay no notice to me. Like a shroud I enter her domain, willingly. I sit at reception or watch how their insulated skeletons sway in an alcohol-fueled breeze. Slowly, one by one they drift off, leaving only the ghosts of their revelry. Then comes the times for the workers to clean, glasses washed and carefully stacked, one by one till all is clear. Gradually they too leave, bidding farewells with their slight nods of acknowledgement. Every single one of them leaves in a hurry. On the surface there is calm, but underneath I feel their undercurrent of haste. For none of them desire to be left alone in the dark. Not with her. None. Except me. A great fog of solitude descends upon the hotel as the air slowly becomes thick with silence. I embrace this moment wholeheartedly, for there is work to be done. It is at this time when I begin attending to my nightly rituals, sweeping, mopping, and to ensure all guests are upstairs and asleep. Caution to those who wander at night, for only I am permitted. Passing down these empty corridors, the silence is broken by my feet upon the carpet. In the gloom of the hallway, I can almost hear the sounds of their breathing, how they sleep so peacefully, completely unaware of what lies beneath them. Entering the ballroom, I am greeted by a freshly washed floor, one that glistens and shines from the ceiling's glow. An ancient chandelier hangs above, still and sombre. Steadily I begin to make my way towards the old storeroom, black leather shoes clacking as I drag them across. Reaching the dark room, I take comfort amidst the stale air. She feels closer here. From a large ring I fish out a small key. The metal feels cool against my palm. Once inserted, the old basement door groans as it is pulled open. The stairs are dark, their boards creaking as I begin the descent. The air grows colder. With a firm pull of a long chain, a light bulb warily awakens. She lies here, deep within the bowels of the underworld. Even with the added light, I squint through the gloom. The sack is still there, for it is I who left it here yesterday, or maybe, perhaps the day before. Thump thump. Soon she will rise. There are no furnishings within the deep. All that decorates the cement corridors here are cobwebs and mould spores. Following the slow thumping noise, I continue to drag the burlap through the concrete labyrinth. Finally, I arrive at the steel door, locked. With great care I withdraw a second key, one that is not from the ring that holds the others. No, this one is special. This key is much older, long and slender, tarnished and worn by time. With a delicate hand I place it gently into the lock. At first it resists, but then gives and begins to turn the heavy bolt within. The room inside reeks of death. The floor lies bare with rotting timber, guarded by walls that have withered down to the brick. A faint light emanates from within. I can hear her breathing. Like a moth to a flame I enter. In the far corner of the room she sits, waiting, with legs covered in thick, coarse hair, accompanied by a pair of long, dreadful fangs which hang from the corners of her mouth. Her eyes shine through the darkness, glinting like opal stones. I feel her stare burn into the corners of my soul. Slowly, I begin to make my way across. Still she does not move. Her web is constructed of heavy silk threads. My free hand starts to involuntarily shake. Finally the bag begins to stir as if the being inside has smelt its doom. The burlap shifts and jolts. I quicken my pace, dragging and heaving. The black jewels continue to hungrily leer at its prize while her body never moves. A small whine emanates from within the sack. 5 feet from the horror, my hand releases its grip. The bag stops moving. There is no hope left of escape. I do not look back as I make my way towards the door. Over the sounds of my footsteps, I finally begin to hear the powerful muscles twitch and move. Reaching out, I grab the handle while the air is filled with a familiar ripping sound and pull the door closed with a jolt. The sweat rolls down the centre of my back as I hear a high-pitched whine through the heavy metal. The corridors echo as I trudge back towards the basement staircase. The chain is pulled and the light bulb flickers, plunging me back into darkness. Timbers heaves and twists as I ascend the staircase. The latch clicks. The ballroom lies empty, waiting. I can still hear the thumping from below. A noise to remind the world of her, that she remains forever. Underneath, while the world is asleep, blissfully unaware of what resides in the heart of this hotel, I reach the reception and take my seat. With an old handkerchief, I wipe away the perspiration. I am awoken from a daze by a tap-tapping outside. A bundle of newspapers and a crate of milk bottles wait patiently. Dawn is nearly upon the horizon. The sky is awash with purple and orange. Hiding from its glare, I quickly usher in the delivered goods. The world begins to stir once more. Lately I shall creep back to my nest, and as I draw the covers over, wrapped in the gloom of morning, I begin to hear the familiar thump, reminding me of my solitary burden, for it is one I shall bear until the heart ceases to beat.
That was The Deathless Nocturnal by Leon Dunn. More like an epic poem.
Do you think?
Story, yeah, I do think. I was told you earlier. I've been reading the Divine Comedy for the first time.
Oh yeah,
and it kind of reminded me of the same kind of cadence. I think you were always built to write poems, maybe even if you didn't.
Yeah, no, it was written 3 years ago.
Yeah,
3 years ago I think it was. So, and I was probably starting out down the spoken word at that stage. I think I was writing stuff and putting it online. I wasn't gigging around, but I like using rhythm in writing.
Yeah, wonderful rhythmic tone to that, but also, yeah, just it's sad and it's harrowing and it's got grief and then there's fear and there's a lot in there to kind of get into your bones. It's got into my bones anyway. Fucking hell.
Creeping into your bones.
So much so, I think it's wise. So everybody gets a nice run at a good sleep after listening to this podcast. Is to end it with something a little lighter.
Oh God, yeah.
We got sent a poem by Teresa McCormack is her name, and I've been following her on Instagram quite a bit recently, and she posted up a poem this week, and it's a little lighter. It's the lighter side of ghouls and ghosts. So I think you're going to enjoy this. The poem is called "If I Came Back as a Ghost" by Teresa McCormack. If I came back as a ghost, I'd hide in that dark closet you've always wondered about. If I came back as a ghost, I'd tap on your window like Heathcliff at midnight. If I came back as a ghost, I'd whisper sweet nothings into your ear. I'd tell all my other ghost friends about you. If I came back as a ghost, I'd throw a pity party for your tears. If I came back as a ghost, I'd watch you breathe in and then out. I'd stand at the end of your chamber bed. If I came back as a ghost, you'd wish you were in Nebraska instead. If I came back as a ghost, I'd stroke your cheek like I always wanted to. I'd count all your tingly goosebumps and swim in your deep eyes so blue. If I came back as a ghost, I wouldn't hide under your sheets or rock on your granny's rocking chair. If I came back as a ghost, you'd see my deathly face everywhere. If I came back as a ghost, I'd switch your light on in the middle of the night and lie beside you reading The Little Stranger. Just two lost souls lying in your torture chamber. If I came back as a ghost, I'd steal a kiss from your lips till you have no choice but to kiss me back. If I came back as a ghost, I'd steal all the stars and paint every night sky the darkest black. If I came back as a ghost, I'd blast Eminem's Love the Way You Lie. Then I'd tell you the honest truth. If I came back as a ghost, I'd savour you like a fine vermouth.
That was If I Came Back as a Ghost by Teresa McCormick. Just
nice to have a poem that kind of, reassures us that the ghosts and the deads and the zombies, they're just us.
They are just ethereal versions of us.
Yeah. They're not allowed to get you.
Only sometimes. Don't be stealing
Sometimes they are.
Don't be stealing their rings.
You'd be more scared of fucking... Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the fucking skeleton.
Don't be stealing... Or building that on Native American burial grounds.
Oh, yeah.
Rule 1.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Nice throwback there to the Simpsons episode.
Have to fucking... You can't be
You're paying attention.
I'm avid Simpsons fan.
Yeah.
Watched all the Treehouse of Horror, as I'd say.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Well, listen.
I
don't know how we're going to go to sleep tonight.
Well, I think, if I came back as a ghost, I'd be able to sleep alright. Because I'd already be dead.
Yeah, you'd already be dead. Happy Halloween, everybody. Leon, thanks for your time.
Always a pleasure, never to char, Ryan, baby. Old spooky season.
Goodbye.
Ooh, he did the mash. He did the monster mash.